go ahead and start with you small group of people. That's perfectly fine with me. Today I'm giving a talk over rattlesnake roundups and the truth behind them. And the point of this entire presentation is just to make people aware of what truly goes on at rattlesnake roundups. And so we'll start by just giving a little bit of information about me. I'm a biology major from St. State University. I did major in biology and my specialty was zoology when going for my degree plan. I have filmed snakes in Texas for the past 5-10 years-ish. And I've never been bitten by a venomous snake. I am pretty careful. I do pride myself on the fact that I try to respect animals. It doesn't mean I'm immune, because Lord knows I've had close calls, but I try and be as respectful as possible. And I am an actual biology teacher at the high school level, so the good thing is that we get to teach this passion to some of my students. Whether or not they perceive that passion, who knows, but Lord knows they get plenty of snake exposure, that's for sure. About rattlesnake roundups is, this is an event that goes on yearly in Sweetwater and many other areas, but the one we're targeting mostly is Sweetwater because that's the biggest one. And Sweetwater gets usually around 20,000, 50,000 people at maximum every single year. And the point of this is they like to collect rattlesnakes. They'll go out in the wild, they'll collect 1,000, upwards of 5,000 rattlesnakes. And the thing they're boasting about this year is they claim to have gotten 24,000 pounds of rattlesnakes this year, which is really, really hard to believe. So we're wondering if these numbers are made up or if they're actually true. They occur in over 6 states. They attract a lot of people. And to this day, over 300,000 pounds of rattlesnakes have been harvested at Sweetwater. What you're seeing right there is the pit which they put all the snakes in after they're caught. The reasons they claim that they're doing this is overpopulation. They say that the snakes are overpopulated in the area. They say that this benefits science, that science is better for their roundups. It saves the lives of their livestock and the people around the area. It helps to educate the public, and then of course the part that they downplay, but they're getting more public about it, is the money aspect of it. And there you can see decapitated heads inside of the bucket, and those are all the rattlesnakes that they slaughtered there. So they claim the overpopulation, but yet they have no data to support this. If you actually look at the numbers that they post the public about, the numbers go up and down, and they've just been steadily going down over the years. Until this random year, like it's weird the way Austin they're collecting 3,000 pounds, 3,000 pounds, 2,000 pounds, and then also they get a spike in 24,000 pounds of rattlesnakes. And we do have some theories as to why this is, and I'll go over this a little bit later. But since they do claim that it is overpopulated, some of their methods that they use are quite odd. So for instance, the point is they need to call out the rattlesnakes in their town because they claim that it's a danger to the kids around there. Kids are being bitten so much. But yet, they don't actually collect rattlesnakes in their town. They actually travel out of their town. If you've ever actually gone to Sweetwater and tried to collect rattlesnakes around that area, you can get very, very few of them. We actually have these hunters, the Sweetwater hunters on camera, saying that collecting rattlesnakes around that area is an extremely hard thing to do. And so they spread out. They'll go hundreds of miles away to collect rattlesnakes, even cross state lines to collect rattlesnakes. And that's just a weird thing to say, that if the point of it is to thin out the herd and they're overpopulated, then why are you crossing state lines to go collect them? And that's because they don't want to admit that they're actually thinning them out to the point where finding them is actually a hard thing to do now. Sweetwater has even doubled, maybe even tripled their price this year per pound of rattlesnake because they're so desperate to get rattlesnakes to be brought into the roundup. And these gentlemen in the picture, those are your Sweetwater JCs. They're a group of, like, for instance, the sheriff. You can have many of the big wigs, like the mayor of the town. He considers himself a JC. And that's why they're hard people to touch, too, since they are higher up in terms of the town status. They're hard to touch, and it's hard to get change to come amongst that group. They claim that it's good for science and saving lives. They claim that they milk the venom, but the venom is actually rarely ever purchased. We've actually contacted all the well-known anti-venom producers and med labs that work with venom, and every single one of them has denied ever purchasing from roundups. And we actually have their president saying to us, we will never purchase from roundups because that venom is not sterile, it's laced with gasoline, and it will never be FDA approved to be used for human usage. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for human medicinal purposes. And so now Sweetwater's trying to say they use it for veterinary purposes, like dog vaccines. And so we're having a hard time contacting every veterinarian to see if that's true. But we're working on that. And so we've actually had some of the roundups in Oklahoma, though. We filmed them milking the rattlesnakes, getting a big picture of them, and then dumping the venom. Now again, this was the one in Oklahoma, not actually in Sweetwater. But they both make the same claim that the venom's used for research, but yet we have them on film dumping the venom afterwards. And it's very unsterilized the way that they do this. The data, weight, length, and sex is given to Texas Parks and Wildlife here in Texas. But then again, you got to wonder what in the world they're doing with that data, because nothing's being done for rattlesnakes. If they are going to be a harvested animal, there should be a bag limit on it. mean, I can't go out and duck hunt without having a bag limit on the ducks that I kill. And they just give these people year-round hunting with rattlesnakes. They can do whatever they want, even to the point of pouring gasoline into the earth to be able to extract them out. And people are actually bitten at Roundup. So for them to say that they save lives and they help to build up our anti-venom production, that people are bitten. And it takes around 30 vials of anti-venom or more to actually curb a bite from a western diamondback rattlesnake. And so this was actually a gentleman who was bitten this year at an Oklahoma rattlesnake roundup. And you can see, where was he bitten? Right on his daggum head. He's got 2 fang marks around his head. Why? Because he took a rattlesnake, he pancaked it, and he put it up on top of his head, and it woke up and bit him on the head. And that's exactly what happened to the guy. So he was lucky that he did actually only suffer a dry bite, but these are actually from news sources in the town. They don't actually hide the fact that they are being bitten. And they admit this. Being bitten by a rattlesnake happened 2 or 3 times before. It's nothing new to him since the sacking part of James American. Sacking is where the people would take rattlesnakes and they'll throw it to their buddy with a bag, and he's got to catch them inside the bag. And again, this is just a weird practice too, because I mean, think of any other competition out there, any festival where an animal is taken, grabbed behind the head, and chunked into a bag, and this is celebrated. Like, it's a very weird thing. Stephanie Smith of Brownwood was bitten twice by a rattlesnake, and she stood in the pit participating in a snake recount. And again, this is someone from the audience that they brought into the snake pit, and she was bitten on the leg. Like, who does that? We've got tons of rattlesnakes out there. How many kids would we let them come into a pit with? I mean, you just don't do that if your goal is to save lives, teach people education about rattlesnakes, and learn to respect them. And then the last person is just admitting that being bitten at a roundup is not an uncommon occurrence. And so the big thing that I want you guys to know, are snakes really that deadly? Like, in other words, if they are that bad, do they truly warrant a giant culling to the point of traveling over state lines to gather 24,000 pounds as they claim this year, and then slaughter them in front of kids? Like, is that warranted? And so when you look at other animals, we'll just focus on the ones that are actually animals. This is kills per year in the United States. Hornets, bees, and wall snakes kill about 53 people per year. Dog bites and attacks around 21. Spider bites 7. Snake bites around 5 to 6. Last year it was just 5. So that number fluctuates between the 3 to 6 range for snake bite deaths in the United States. We have very good health care, and anti-venom has definitely dropped the rate of deaths in the United States for snake bite. So again, if snakes are killing far less people than even dog bites, why is it justified going out there and just killing thousands upon thousands of them? Education is another thing they pride themselves on. And I don't know about you guys, but I definitely would not want my kid to go to an event and learn that, hey, it's okay to decapitate an animal and then wear its head as a necklace around. That's a great fashion statement, you know? Like, that's just a very odd thing. I want my kid to learn to respect nature, to respect and love wildlife, and to realize why it's worth saving. They also do a bunch of daredevil stunts where they get inside of a beanbag or a bathtub with rattlesnakes. And again, this is running the risk of being bitten. It also gives people a false sense of, okay, so apparently I can just go in and pick this rattlesnake up. And people don't definitely need to learn that. They do teach bite prevention and treatment, but again, the bite prevention and treatment is flaky. And they are really flaky with identification. We got them on film holding a copperhead and calling it a cottonmouth, holding a cottonmouth and calling it a copperhead, a Texas rat snake and calling it a long snake. So their identification is not exactly up to par, because you can't necessarily say these guys are snake lovers. So it's not like they've actually spent time studying snakes. That gentleman right down there is holding a rattlesnake in his skin, and since rattlesnakes are still very much alive, even after their skin is ripped off, the rattlesnake's moving around in his hand, just the muscle tissue is. So it's moving up, just trying to find a place to hide, even though its head's missing and its body form. And this is, again, things that they like to show children, too. The big reason they do it, the reason that we can't touch it, is money. They do get a lot of money, upwards of millions of dollars for their town. And so that's why it's a hard thing to touch, is because they're doing good things with the money, too. It goes to charity, it goes to kids' graduation, some of them get scholarships for it. And so our big goal is we don't actually want to stop the roundups, because if it is necessary, you're doing good things with the money. We just want you guys to do it in a different way. That's the point of the Texas Rattlesnake Festival, is to show them that, hey, we can throw in a celebratory festival in which people are learning to love rattlesnakes, learning to actually appreciate them. None of them are being killed, and people are still having a good time. You're still getting attendance. You can still make money off of this event. And that's our big goal, is to try and get them to take notice. And so far, we've been very successful at that. We're hoping to be more successful at that here in the Houston area. I just wanted to go with you guys on a trip through the life of the western diamondback rattlesnake involved in the rattlesnake roundups. This is one from Oklahoma who sadly gets his back broken, and then he gets his fangs ripped out with pliers, and then he gets his mouth sewn shut. And then people will put him around his shoulders and take pictures with him for money, and then once he dies, they throw him away. And then they get another one and do the same thing to him. But let's start at the beginning. The beginning is actually where the cruelty starts. So snakes are most commonly captured in winter hibernaculums, and these are just dens and rock pits or dens and holes. And the people will come over there and they'll start pumping gasoline in there. So the rattlesnakes who are quick enough to make it out come out, and of course they're sick. They're very, very fatigued, because I mean, if you sit into a really tight, dense area and just breathe in gas fumes for a while, you're going to get very sick. You could die if you're in there for too long. Some rattlesnakes die inside the hole because they can never make it out. The ones that make it out are quickly captured and then just dumped into a box. Another method they use is ammonia, which is equally as toxic. And then another method is hooking, where they take a long, long pole, they line it with treble hooks, and they stick it inside the hole and they slam it side to side. And then they rip out as many rattlesnakes as they can on those treble hooks. And so again, this is where the cruelty starts. And poor animals like the gopher tortoise, they're actually threatened or endangered because of this method. Eastern diamondbacks were collecting coal using this method as well, and that's why the gopher tortoise is now protected in every state that it's in. So then, after they are captured, they live a life in a box for weeks, months, sometimes even years. We actually believe they got this 24,000 pounds of rattlesnakes this year from possibly keeping or collecting rattlesnakes from years past, just to try and prove to us, like it's their way of fudging numbers, to prove to us that, hey, the rattlesnake population is not going down, you guys are wrong. Because again, just the science behind where would they randomly get 24,000 pounds of rattlesnakes? This is 8 times their normal amount. It's very, very odd. So it's one of those things I'd like to look into. But snakes have no food, no water. Some are crushed by their box mates. So the weight of the other ones on top of them will crush and kill them. And that's why when they bring them to the roundup, they'll dump them all out. There will be several dead rattlesnakes who dump out with them. And they just throw those guys away, and those guys will be skinned and sold as merchandise there. The cruelty that goes on in the include freezing, defanging snakes. They'll put them in the big pit and walk around and just kick them and slam them against the wall. They'll excessively pin them to the point of actually crushing their venom glands. Their mouths are sewn shut. Some of them actually been burned with cigarettes. They'll take them up, and while they're smoking, they'll burn the cigarettes on them. There's even been one roundup where it's been documented that they stuck a funnel down its mouth and poured beer down its throat to kill it that way. So again, these people really, really dislike rattlesnakes. And again, if I just tell you all this, that's one thing, but if you see it, then you actually know I'm not just making all this up. So this is some of the footage that we captured of the cruelty. This is a young boy that they pulled from the audience, and they wanted him to come kill the rattlesnake, but since they do not like these animals, they use the dullest knives possible, so that way the animal feels as much pain as possible. So it doesn't just happen with one hit, it takes several hits, and then to eventually the point where they have to saw and rip the head off at the same time, as you can see them doing right there. And again, what does this teach kids? Now that kids like, oh, it's okay, it's a snake, you know, who cares? This is a snake that's excessively pinned. The guy is terrified of it, so he puts a lot of pressure on its head and actually ruptures its venom gland. And you can tell because look at how much venom is dispelled on the ground. Whenever he picks it up, that huge pool of venom is dispelled. And then we took a picture of the snake's head later to show how swollen it was. And you can see its head swell up to about the size of a softball when its venom gland is being ruptured. Here's just showing how they do still feel pain after being decapitated. Their head still moves, and they do feel pain for about an hour or 2 hours after their head is chopped off. This is one of them whose mouth is sewn shut, and he died, and so the girls checked to see if he's still going to be good for pictures, and this was shortly before she threw him away. This is when they walk around the crowd with the cut off heads and show people how, hey, it is still alive, look at it flicking its tongue. And this is the best thing, is you can take your kid and let her bathe their hands in rattlesnake blood, and then post their bloody handprints up on the wall. So again, they love to boast about this. This is fun for the whole family. Bring your family and let them bathe their hand in rattlesnake blood. Sounds like a good time, right? No, it's not a very good time. So again, what does this teach? The whole sum of this is people learn that rattlesnakes should be feared. They actually take the same fear that these JCs have, and they internalize it, and now they go out and teach it themselves. So it's just spreading this misinformation and fear. They also learn that snakes have no feelings. That's why animal cruelty is okay for them, because they can't feel. Who cares? It's just a snake. And it's okay as long as it's a snake. And they also want people to know that snakes will bite you when given a chance. So I just want to teach you guys the truth. It's just, are rattlesnakes really aggressive? What happens when you stumble upon a wild rattlesnake, and are they actually beneficial? This is a beautiful western diamondback rattlesnake that I caught over in West Texas. And I'm laying down on the ground, literally feet from her. But the key thing I want you guys to notice is she attacking me at all? And the answer is obviously no. Like, is she defensive? Oh yeah, she's terrified. The snakes are terrified of people. So right now she's in an awesome strike pose. She's looking at me and just basically saying, I don't want to bite you, but if you want some, I'm pretty good. come get some, okay? And so that's what she's doing. She's saying, like, if you want to, she's trying to look big and bad to the bone, and she knows she's got a whopping of venom, so she's waiting for you to test her. And of course, since I love her too much, I'm not going to test her because I don't want you to do that. But I want you guys to see what happens whenever you run across the Diamondback in the wild. This is one of them that I caught crossing the road. And so you can see him laying out in the road. You're going to see me step right in front of him with my boot. There I go. I step in front of him. Here I go stepping back in front of him again. And here I go again. And just watch what he does. He's running from me. That's kind of the opposite of what they say. Because I mean, they say that this thing will kill you. And then he'll find the yellow pages and find your address and hunt down your family and then come after them. And your dog's not safe. They'll come after your dog too, okay? So whenever I showed this to the roundup, they said, that's not even a big one. So I called a big 5-foot one. This is actually a 5-foot one that's in the road. And you're going to see me. Now, I can't dance, so don't judge me too harshly, okay? But I'm going to go over there and I'm going to dance in front of her a little bit. And so here she is. Do a little two-step in action with one foot. Because, again, I can't dance, but that's the best I got. Here we go, walking around her. And so she's playing the first card that rattlesnakes play. My camouflage is so good, this guy doesn't even know I'm here. So she's just standing perfectly still. She's trusting that she blends in with the road. So then I want her to know, hey, I'm here. I see you. You better defend yourself. So now you're going to see me go over there and I'll put my boots right on top of her head. I don't step on her, but I want her to know, hey, your life could be in danger. You better defend yourself. She raised up a little bit right there. And now, like rattlesnakes do, she's going to hide her head. She pulls her head in tight to her body and starts to hide, because that's her most prized possession. And so right now she's just scared. And she's hiding. You can see her cute little butt. She's peeking her head out right now, saying, what's going on? And so that's exactly what she's doing. Do all rattlesnakes do this? No. So if you go out in the wild, you see a rattlesnake, you go the other direction if you want to make sure you do not get bit. The point of this is just to show that rattlesnakes are not the way that they make you think. I've had several rattlesnakes that right when I walk up to them, they immediately stand up and do the awesome, I am so bad to the bone look. And they're like, come get you some. But never once does a rattlesnake come up to me and try and go for a fight. Rattlesnakes are not built for a fight. They're built for running, and if that fails, defense. I showed this to the rattlesnake roundups, and they immediately said, that's not even the most venomous rattlesnake. If you try that with a venomous rattlesnake worse than the diamondback, then he'll definitely bite you. So I found the tiger rattlesnake, who's arguably the most venomous rattlesnake in the United States, maybe even the world. And so he's right back there, and I'm sorry you guys can't hear it, but I'm saying something to the effect of, this is the tiger rattlesnake, the most venomous rattlesnake in maybe in the world. Let's see what would happen if you were to just walk up this mountain and walk right next to him. The horror! And so you're going to see me do it. Pretend you're rock climbing, you're about to go rock climb on this mountain. Here I go, I'm walking up, tiger rattlesnake's right there. Oh, tiger rattlesnake's leaving. Oh, I dropped my keys at the bottom of the mountain, better go grab him. Tiger rattlesnake, he's getting defensive, he's surely going to kill me now. You know, he's leaving. Something's kind of up with this. And so this is no joke. It's not like I just cut out the footage of rattlesnakes attacking me. Like I promise you guys, I went on a 10-day trip and I filmed tons of rattlesnakes, over 30. And not a single one of them showed any type of disposition which I would consider aggressive. And so I want you guys to know that they're not something that has to be feared. You just have to respect them. In other words, when you see them, let them go on their way. Leave them alone and you have a 0% chance of getting bit. Most people are bitten trying to capture or kill the snake. If you want to ensure your chance of survival and the snake itself, if you care about them, just let them go on their way. Now I understand if you have family, friends, kids running around the backyard, and you're like, I can't have this thing in my backyard. Call your local herpetologist. Call an expert around you who's experienced in removing them, and we can come over and grab them. I do snake removal for free for the entirety of Montgomery County. Just because if you're willing to save the snake's life, I'll come over and get it for you for free. That's a noble thing that you're doing. So are snakes actually beneficial? And yes, they are ecologically necessary. They do control a majority of the rodent population out there, and their venom is used for medicinal purposes. So rodents carry many diseases, including hantavirus, which is a respiratory infection. And the sad thing is all the rats has to do is come near your house, poop or pee, and that virus goes airborne. And then all you have to do is breathe it in. And you have about a 60% chance of death. And a lot of people die from hantavirus when they get it because they typically get under the weather and they think, oh, I just got the flu, I'll weather it out. And then they die 2 or 3 days later. It's a very, very scary illness that is inhaled. And that's why it's so deadly. You just have to have rodents who are infected come near your house. Well, if snakes are plentiful, the chances of those rodents ever making it to your house are getting slimmer and slimmer. They also help prevent crop destruction. There's actually been math studies on this. of how many crops are saved per year from snakes controlling rodents, and you don't even want to know the number if snakes were not there. If there were no diamondbacks, like literally farming would be nearly impossible. And then of course the bubonic plague is when they can come back. This is the gentleman who actually has it, and that's carried by a flea who bites the rodents, and of course if the rodents get higher number, that flea will get closer to people as well. Medicinal purposes, many people don't know this, but the protein in the venom has the potential to actually stop cancer cell support. If you look up here, this is actually a list I received from a pharmaceutical company. These are all peptides that are used in current medicines right now. Here's our guy right here, Crotalus atrox, which is the western diamondback rattlesnake, the snake we're trying to save. He has a metalloproteinase that whenever a cancer cell comes in your body, it'll start to pull blood vessel support from your body tissue to basically fuel itself and feed itself so it can get bigger. That metalloproteinase goes in there and cleaves all of those blood vessel supplies. In other words, giving you more time to combat and fight your cancer and keeping it from growing. So this is actually used in cancer treatment under studies right now. There's a lot of promising research for venom in cancer research. It's being used right now in anything cardiovascular related or blood clot related. If you go to the hospital for either one of those, that clot will be cleared by a medicine that was derived from a snake venom, guaranteed. And if you guys want more medicine out there, we need snake populations to be healthy, because as they stay healthy, their venom evolves over time, therefore giving us new cures that we would have never come up with without snakes developing these different proteins. So just the key thing is, what can you do? If you would like, you can join our RAR Facebook page. It's Rise Against Rattlesnake Roundup, and that's where we post current information on gassing bans, things like that, to try and get gassing stopped in Texas. Texas is one of the few states that still considers gassing legal. They think it's okay to dump gasoline into the burrows of these snakes and kill other animals inside of them as well. And we're trying to get that stopped, and we're doing good progress, but since politicians have big pockets, it's getting tough, and we're kind of getting to a sticking point. You guys can share our videos that actually show people the cruelty that goes on, and you guys can just share our videos that educate people on the public of rattlesnakes. We want people to become aware of the true behavior and why they're worth saving. You can write letters and emails to our government, and the greater the exposure for our event, the better off. And you guys all don't realize this, but you've all made a difference just by showing up to this Rattlesnake Festival. Y'all's ticket that y'all bought and y'all handed in counts towards a number that we get to go public with to Sweetwater, and we can say we had this many people show up to our festival and not a single rattlesnake was killed. So please tell us why more people want to come see rattlesnake slaughter at yours. And that's what we need this event to grow over time. Again, this is only our third year, so we're starting off, but if you guys can help us, we can get it bigger. We can make it into a carnival-sized event just like Sweetwater's, and actually give them some good competition to where the rattlesnakes stand a chance of actually being saved, and we can actually get some good change going on. But until they can see aren't going to hold, they're not going to do it. There was a roundup actually in Florida that used to kill every single western diamondback they came across. But one gentleman was actually bold enough to listen to the biologists around there, and they said, hey, diamondbacks are going down in number. He said, well, let me see this. They showed him the data, and he turned his roundup into an entire non-kill festival where they celebrate eastern diamondbacks, and now they've received actually higher attendance numbers than they ever have. More people travel from across the United States just to go to that Florida roundup, and it's now a celebratory festival. And so it can be done. I promise you it can be done. We just need more support. Anyone have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Do all the rattlesnake, are they poisonous or?
Yeah, the rattlesnakes are venomous. Yes.
And where do they live mostly?
So we do have rattlesnakes here. We have two species of rattlesnake here called the canebrake rattlesnake and the pygmy rattlesnake. The canebrake is threatened here, so you can't capture, kill, or do anything like that with them. So if you see them, you just got to let them go. And if you see them, just praise the good Lord, because since they are threatened, they're rare to find. So it's just good to see one. Western diamondbacks, if you want to see them, you can go directly south of us towards Galveston, north towards the Dallas area, and then pretty much west of us, go about 100 miles west of us, and they're thick as all get out there. But again, you go towards the roundup towns, they're not as thick. Luckily, all the snake hunting spots that I know, roundups don't really go to, so I can go to those areas and catch quite a few diamondback rattlesnakes. But they'll catch on over time, and they'll start killing those off. The sad thing is we used to get such huge rattlesnakes. We used to get 6+ foot western diamondback rattlesnakes. Now catching those is very rare. Why? Because they're all being killed. So the genetics for getting big are going away. There's no longer good genes out there for big rattlesnakes because they're killing them all. So sad. Yeah, no problem. Anyone else? Yeah. Hey, Blake. You brought your Cobra? That's awesome. You see the one up front? It's beautiful. Blake has a albino model Cobra up front. You guys can see it. He's absolutely gorgeous. Anyone else have any questions? All right. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. Fantastic.